you all very, very much for letting me come and play with you this morning. I'm so grateful. And before we get started, can I just see with a show of hands, how many of you out there would like to have fabulous health, where every cell in your body is filled with healed light, pain-free body, move easily and joyfully? Great, great. How many of you would like to have harmonious relationships with family, friends, coworkers, customers, vendors? Yeah, okay. Anybody out there want to have more money, financial freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want? Okay, great. We're all in the right place. I'm so happy. Well, it's true that I have been practicing spiritual principles, metaphysical spiritual principles for the past 34 some years. And it was interesting. I got my very first metaphysical book that was published in 1925 by a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn, and it's called The Game of Life. My mother, who's a devout Catholic, who had converted from being a Seventh-day Adventist, gave this book to her youngest child and said, honey, I think this might be your path. Well, I went to Catholic Church and all sorts of other different communities because I like spiritual community, but I practiced my metaphysical beliefs every single day. And I can tell you that these principles work. I was able to graduate from college in 3 years with honors while growing a 250-employee company. That's a miracle. Yeah. I want to point that out, but it's because of these practices. I really believed that anything I put my mind, thoughts, words, and emotions towards could be manifest in my life, because this is an abundant universe. Well, as I told you, I use spiritual community as a wonderful, wonderful place for me to be planted, and I pretty much just follow my sister, Reverend Sharon Ramey, wherever she goes. And she ended up at Center for Spiritual Living in Seattle, which is a wonderful center in the early 2000s, and I joined her in 2005. And I'm a big believer. I'm so happy you're having a pledge campaign right now, because this is the single greatest way to increase your financial abundance, is to give first. It starts the flow of everything. So I'm a giver. I believe in that. I don't even think about it anymore. And I had been doing my tithes based on income and what I wanted to be making. And the spiritual leadership came to me and said, excuse me, could you tell me what you're doing? And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a trick question and I was going to get in trouble for something. So I said, well, I'm doing what you are teaching me to do. Isn't that right? They said, no, there's something you're doing that's different. And we'd like to know what it is, because not everyone in our spiritual community gives at the level you give. And I said, well, I will admit that as a businesswoman, I am a self-proclaimed efficiency expert. I hate to waste time. I really do. And the thing I love about spiritual centers like this and science of mind and new thought practices is we're taught to try stuff on. We try on meditation. We try on 5-step treatment program. We try on affirmations. We try on stuff that we're exposed to find our nice little groove, our individual way to relate to spirit, right? This means yes, me. Okay. So we try stuff like that on, and I had already been trying this on for some years and created my own little efficient spiritual practice. So they asked me if I would please teach that at Center for Spiritual Living in Seattle, and I did. And about the 500th person that had come through the workshop, and I give everybody a 27-page workbook, right? So this is a really fun workshop where we have interaction and we practice the practice right there in the workshop. And so I had done that, and about the 500th person that came through said, wait a minute, you give us this great workbook, we get to try everything on, but where are the application stories that you tell in the workshop? Could you please put it into a book? A book was not supposed to be on my resume, but it ended up coming from the teaching, and I'm so grateful. It has reached a bestseller status, and it did that in personal finance above Tony Robbins and Dave Ramsey and Suze Orman and Freakonomics. It's outside in this business community. Our spiritual principles are now being pushed out into the world. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. So I'm delighted to be here today to be able to share this message. My title is Partnering with the Chief Spiritual Officer for Success and Freedom. You're probably wondering, what in the world is a Chief Spiritual Officer? Well, for me, it represents the ultimate advisor characteristic of Spirit. As a CEO, I surround myself with people whose advice I value in my C-suite. I have a Chief Financial Officer that advises me on the financial health of our company, a Chief Information Officer that advises me on the technology that we need for our company and for the products that we offer, and a Chief Operations Officer, a Chief Marketing Officer. So I decided to bring in the ultimate advisor, which is Spirit, into my C-suite, and I gave it the title Chief Spiritual Officer. In fact, I placed it at the top of my org chart, where I, as the CEO, reported to it. You can just imagine what my employees said. Who's the CSO? Is it a man or a woman? Do we get to meet them? And my response to my employees is that this was a symbol of the fact that we are a miracle-making company. We're going to have stuff happen in our company that is beyond imagination. Stuff's going to show up for our good, for our customers' good, for each of our coworkers' good, for the entire world's good that cannot be explained logically. And what you need to know is it's because of the CSO. So I want you to email me, text me, phone calls. Let me know when you see evidence of this. Sound a little like New Thought, spiritual mind treatment, huh? Sending them out to expect and watch for miracles. So I got flooded, absolutely flooded. In every case, we are competing with Fortune 20 companies. That's a lot of zeros behind their net worth, all right? And here we are, brand new startups in these different industries. And we end up skyrocketing to market share leader for new business being acquired. Why? Because of the CSO. We had stuff show up so often. Oh my gosh, an employee would say, the CSO showed up and did a miracle. I can't believe that this turned out this way. We got this sale. We solved this problem. We had this happen. Miraculously, we had miracles show up so often that we coined a phrase that miracles were just turning into typicals. Very, very, very fun. In addition, I know that because of this partnership with the CSO, I have been extremely successful. But also, in addition to working financially and in a business environment, the CSO helps us in lots of other ways. In 1994, the CSO saved my life. I had this flash or this thought, this picture of my sister's face in my mind's eye. Anybody ever have stuff that just flies into your head without warning? It'll just show up, a real strong thought or something? Yeah, so I had this picture of my sister's face in my mind's eye, and I finished my business appointment, and I was close to her office, so I just stopped by. She was so happy to see me. She had a computer problem that I could fix for free. So I'm sitting there at her computer, and she notices this little tiny dot on the outside of my right leg. And she asked, what is that? Well, you heard in the introduction, I'm from Hawaii, and I'm fair. So I said it was a freckle. She said she didn't feel that it was a freckle, and asked me to see her dermatologist to have it looked at. I was just about to dismiss her fear, and my gut hurt. Anybody ever have that happen? The gut hurts, right? Well, in this practice, in this partnership with the CSO, pictures in my mind's eye, gut-wrenching things, there are different signs that say, pay attention. I need you to do something. And I knew by that point that that meant just do as she said. So I went to the doctor. While I was there, the doctor said, it's nothing. You have nothing to worry about. It's too small. Now, I was raised by a surgeon. My father was a surgeon. And surgeons kind of have this image that they're right about the same level as God. fact, sometimes my dad thought he was maybe just a little higher up. But I was trained not to question a doctor's advice, right? They know more than I do. And just as I was about to leave and not question this doctor's advice, my gut hurt again. So I said, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you've got to cut that out. He barely got one stitch in. I came back a week later to a diagnosis of malignant melanoma, Clark's level 3. The CSO saved my life. Now, you all know the power of spirit operating in our lives for health. You know someone, or you yourself have known healing that can seem miraculous, but we know that you are perfectly healthy, whole and complete, where every cell in your body is filled with healed light. There is nothing in you that is unlike the perfection of God. We know that. But we can also have that same kind of confidence in our finances, in our business, in our relationships. There are many successful people in the world who claim that spiritual intuition is actually part of their success toolkit. Bill Gates, who I think was deemed the wealthiest man in the world again, said that often you have to rely on intuition. And Steve Jobs agreed when he said that you actually have to have courage to follow your heart and your intuition. And Oprah Winfrey said that she has listened to that still small voice of intuition her entire life. And the only times that she's made mistakes, when she didn't listen. So if Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Thomas Edison, if hundreds of successful people say it's important to rely on spiritual intuition for success, why aren't we all doing it? Well, I think it's because most of the world is not taught to recognize that still small voice. And thank God there are centers like this that are training people to do that, to rely on spirit, to rely on these messages that we get through intuition. But in most of the world, if you have a question about anything, what do? You Google it. Come on. You guys all have to say, we're going to Google it. We're going to talk to our friends about it. We're going to find subject matter experts. We're going to look for articles. We're going to look to measure it, analyze it, and evaluate it before we ever make a decision about anything. And that decision has to resonate with our rational mind. We have to understand it. That's why. Albert Einstein put this phenomena, this societal reliance on the rational mind this way. He said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. But somehow we've created a society that honors this servant, this rational mind, and has forgotten the gift. So I am here to help you to remember what you already know, which is that this is a gift, and we can rely on it. And there's just 3 main points about this spiritual partnership that I want to go over with you. So does everybody have a handout? You should have it in your program. Looks like this. If you don't, raise your hand, and one will be brought to you. But I told you I'm an efficiency expert, and I like to give people cheat sheets. So this is your cheat sheet. So the first thing is to recognize that spirit, divine intelligence, loving God, creator of the universe, wants us to do well. There is a good for you, and you ought to have it. We know that. We are in an abundant universe and can have whatever it is that we want. But it stands to reason that we actually have to know what it is that we want. When we describe what we want, when we describe our good with gratitude as though we've already achieved it, our intuition which is messaging from spirit. Our subconscious, which is also part of that messaging, goes on high alert. Oh my gosh, I have to make those statements true, so I better point out possibilities. How many of you have ever been in the market to buy a car? Yeah? So you narrow it down, you talk about it, you write down everything, you go and test drive it, you maybe even dream about seeing yourself in the car. You do all these different things, and what happens right before you decide to buy it? Don't you start to notice that car everywhere on the road? Yeah, so our intuition and our subconscious are pointing out possibilities to make that goal yours. Same thing. Recognize that Spirit wants you to have whatever you want, but you have to be clear on what it is that you want. The second thing is to actually partner, commit to a partnership with this source of intuition, with this characteristic that is the ultimate advisor. And let me point something out. I am not saying that there is any separation. We are all part of one. But we do, in science of mind, use different names for different characteristics of spirit, right? Call it love, truth, power. Why not have the advisor characteristic be called something that is meaningful to you? I choose CSO, but you can choose whatever you want. In my workshops, we have people go through this process. Some people call it divine intelligence, God, love. I even had somebody call it Fred, but I'm not sure why. But Fred represents an ultimate advisor to this person, and that's perfectly fine. So I did give you a space there in case something popped into your head and you want to write that down. Now, in this partnership, you have clear roles and responsibilities that you both will follow. You have your job. CSO has its job. How many of you have ever worked for a living? Yeah? Okay. Well, in your job, you were probably hired because you have a skill set that's very, very, very wonderful. It benefits the company. It benefits all of your coworkers. It helps your customers, right? You've got your job. Would you ever barge into somebody else's office and start doing their job for them? Most of us wouldn't, because they were hired to do their job and we're hired to do ours. Same thing in this partnership. Your job is to figure out what it is that you want. What is your good? Describe it as though it's already completed with gratitude. The CSO's job is to create the path for you to get to your good and give you one step to take at a time to get there. Those steps are going to show up in intuitive messages, in gut instincts, in something you feel in your heart, something that somebody says to you that just resonates with you and gives you an awareness. But you're going to get these messages. I guarantee you, if you take the step, it will be okay, and follow the message. But many of us, if we're filled with doubt or we're scared and we don't understand it, we just do nothing. It doesn't make sense, we're doing nothing. You are not allowed to do nothing anymore. You either take the step or you ask for another lead. Now I want all of you to kind of tilt your head up just a little bit and repeat after me. I need another lead. I need another lead. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. I can assure you, I'd love to make it more complicated and have you really, really put in your effort, but it's not. If you don't feel comfortable taking the step, like seeing my sister's face in my mind's eye, if I really was confused about that, I could just ask for another lead and I would have gotten one. Let me give you an example. I travel about 200,000 miles a year domestic when I have a real technology company going in full bloom. And in my last company, I have a routine. I land at the airport, I get my bags, I get my rent-a-car, and then I drive to the hotel, drop off my bags, and I go to the grocery store that's closest to get water and protein shakes and supplies that I need for my stay. And this happened in Cleveland. And I'm sitting there in the car ready to go to the grocery store that I know that's 5 minutes away. And I get this thought about a grocery store that's 15 minutes away. So here comes the rational mind. May. Honey, it's 9 o'clock at night. Your appointment is at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I want to point out that that's 5 o'clock in the morning Seattle time. You're going to be really, really tired. What in the world are you thinking about driving across town in Cleveland in the dark? Hello? Just go to the grocery store that's nearby. Sound familiar? Yeah. My rational mind's trying to talk me out of it. So what I have to do is figuratively stop that, and I do. Stop! Look up. I need another lead. If this is from you, I need another lead. Here comes the intuitive mind. Well, really, it's 9 o'clock here, but it's really only 6 o'clock in Seattle. You're not going to be able to go to sleep anyway. It's too early. And who knows, maybe everything you want's going to be on sale. It won't be a wasted drive. It's only 10 minutes extra each way, and it's 9 o'clock, so there's not going to be any traffic. Oh, just make the drive. So I did. And I parked the car, and as I am walking into the grocery store, who should be walking out at exactly the same time? A potential customer that I met 6 months before at a trade show, who was not returning any of my emails or phone calls for an appointment. Hi, how are you? Gosh, so good to see you. What's going on? And we have this wonderful conversation. He asks me questions about the growth of our company, and I answered them. And before the end of the conversation, I'm invited to come and make a presentation to their company. Now, my goal that I had been writing down was to have a minimum of $400,000 in increased revenue to my company by a certain date. Well, that meeting led to another, and eventually a contract worth over $500,000. Now, let me ask you honestly, okay, for those of you that achieve goals, all right, we were taught, establish a goal and figure out every step that it takes, and we take these steps to achieve our goal. That's what we were taught. If, in fact, you were going to analyze that story, would you have ever thought that driving across town at 9 o'clock at night would be one of the steps that you would take? No. This is why we have stories that sound like miracles, but really they're supposed to be typicals. Water comes out of rock, food comes from heaven, Red Seas part. These miracles, seeming miracles, really are becoming typicals as you practice this partnership with the CSO. Things like this will happen all the time. It becomes a really fun game, especially when you achieve a goal and you turn around and look at the crazy path that you were led on. You just laugh. Plus, you feel the sense of real peace and happiness because you're not doing the heavy lifting anymore. Your job is to figure out what it is that you want. CSO's job is to create the path and give you one step to take at a time. You either take the step or ask for another lead. Eventually, you get your goal, and you do it again. It's not complicated. It was meant to be simple. Now, you're in the middle of a pledge campaign, and I can tell you that there are ways that you can jumpstart your good. You can create a goal. You can create a goal of being a fully supporting member of your center. You can create a goal to be a really cheerful giver. In our center, there's a gentleman that I know who came up to me after one of my talks and said, May, I barely make ends meet on my paycheck. I don't have anything more to give. And I said, okay, what if your goal was to be a giver and you let the CSO create the path and give you the steps to get there? Would you consider that possibility? And he said, sure. So I said, okay, great. Well, what would make you feel comfortable? And so we decided that he would start by giving on unexpected income. That's money over and above his paycheck. So he made the commitment, gave $5, and he decided to go ahead and watch for evidence of unexpected income. And in the first week, he found $50. So he gave $5. The next week, he was taking his dog on a walk, and they have this routine. Any dog owners out there? All right, so when you take your dog on a walk, sometimes you follow the same route, for your walk. And that was the same for him. In fact, the dog knew it well, but this day, the dog took him off on a different route. And as he's on this path, right smack dab in the middle is a roll of money with a rubber band around it. He knew somebody lost it, so he and his dog hung out there for about an hour to see if anybody came back. He went to the parking area to see if anybody was looking around for it, and no one was there. So he looked up and said, "Thanks," and then unrolled it and found that it was $325. So he gave $32.50. Well, a short time after that, he decided that he trusted this law of giving and receiving. He trusted that this partnership was working. And so what he ended up doing was he decided to give on his after-tax income, his paycheck, and unexpected income. That went on for a short time, and his boss called him into the office and said, "We've been watching you over the last few months, and something's different about you. You're really helpful. You're really cheerful. You're doing great work. We're just amazed. Our customers are actually calling us to tell us how much they appreciate you. This is really weird. And we're so grateful. Here's a 20% raise." You can't outgive God. So if you haven't made a commitment, if you haven't made a goal to support your center, do it. It will return huge blessings to you and all those around you. So the third step, the very third thing to do is to enter into a daily practice where you create and cultivate this relationship with your spiritual partner. How many of you have ever heard the phone ring and you knew who it was? Yeah? Did you have a relationship with that person? Yeah, you probably knew them pretty well. Same thing is true. As you start to have this relationship with Spirit, and remember, I'm an efficiency expert, so I keep it very, very, very concise. You spend 25 minutes in the morning, that's it. And then all day long, it's just fun. And we're going to go over that practice in the workshop this afternoon. We don't have enough time today to go over it. But essentially, you're creating and cultivating this relationship so that you can recognize when Spirit is giving you leads to take steps along the path that it creates. Very, very, very fun. You're going to love this. So again, what we want to do is recognize that Spirit wants us to do well. Enter into this partnership with it. Figure out what it is that you want, and let Spirit come up with the path for you to get there. Meet daily with your CSO to keep you balanced and level, and also know that this partnership is working for your benefit. And just to solidify partnerships in regards to what Ernest Holmes says about them, what I'd love to do in closing is to go ahead and read this prayer on the bottom of your cheat sheet. Let's read it together out loud. I know that I am in partnership with the infinite. I identify myself with this partnership, knowing that it always leads to success. I accept that the action of infinite intelligence is back of everything. It is always manifesting itself, and it now does so through the thought pattern of success I am establishing for myself. Conditions and situations about me now start to correspond to my new ideas about them. The invisible presence and power indwelling and surrounding me, which is forever making manifest my thought, now creates for me the success with which I have identified my thought. May you all be blessed. May you be prospered. May you be healthy and happy and joyful. And as Ernest Holmes and Emma Curtis Hopkins said, there is a good for you, and you ought to have it. And I would add, and you should have it now. Yes. Thank you very, very much.
serve.